Welcome to Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today is the second episode of our Magic Mom Month, and I am totally blessed to have the opportunity to speak to Crystal McCrary McGuire, the mother of Cole Anthony. Cole was recently drafted in November 2020 to the team and has already been playing a big role. Let's welcome Crystal to the show and talk about that and more. Thank you so much, Crystal, for coming on Courtside Moms. I really appreciate you taking your time to spend time with me, another Magic Mom.
I'm so thrilled to be here. I like the sound of that. Magic Moms. I guess that's what we are. We're pretty magic.
Absolutely. This must be a busy weekend for your family with Cole in town for the next two games against the Nets and the Knicks, and your husband's campaign as he is running for the mayor of the most exciting city in the world. So tell me, what is that like for you?
Oh gosh, where to begin? I feel like it's always busy because I have three kids. Well, I guess I can't really call Cole a kid anymore, can I? I mean, he's 20. I
Still
would
your
seem
baby.
like my baby. He's always my baby. But
Amen.
two at home. We have our 18-year-old daughter who's in the middle of college applications. We have an 8-year-old son who's in second grade. And as you mentioned, my husband is running for mayor of New York City, which, as you can imagine, is pretty time consuming and exciting.
Of course.
And then Cole is in town. Yes, they're in town, but with the COVID restrictions, there are, you can't really, get to spend time with them in the way that you would, be able to under normal circumstances. So, but it's just happy to, I'm happy to just have him in the same city.
Yeah, it's so true. He's so close, but yet so far, right?
I know. It's tough.
So Cole is currently 20 and has already had an impactful life from playing from baseball, then basketball at a young age, having a dad in the NBA, a mom as a filmmaker, playing AAU to now in the NBA. So let's start from the beginning of his passion for basketball and where it all started.
Wow. Well, he's just always been a very athletic kid. He was an athletic baby. um, and really competitive. I'm sure, as you have experienced with your son, just at a young age, they display physical talents. I mean, he had his physical mobility, I think, developed faster than anything else. His motor skills.
Yes.
And so he was, before he could even actually crawl, he was 7 months old, sitting up. And he would throw a ball overhand. You'd give him a ball and he'd throw it overhand.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's curious. You're throwing a ball overhand at this young. And he actually, I said he wasn't even crawling. He actually walked before he could crawl.
Really?
Yes. I think the mechanics of crawling was trickier for him than just the actual mechanics of walking. And then always just very competitive. From a really young age, from like the age of 3. I remember him getting into a race, just a foot race down the street with a kid who was almost 8 years old. And he lost the race by maybe an inch. And he was inconsolable. He was so upset that he lost. And I was like, honey, you're only 3. You almost won. He's almost 8. And he said, my feet are supposed to be faster than his.
Aww.
And so it was just, I'm like, okay. That's when in my mind, I was just looking at this kid thinking, you're pretty competitive
Already.
And, yeah.
As a baby. Well, young Cole said he wanted to play basketball at such a young age. Do you think he felt pressured to play because he had an NBA dad?
I don't think he really felt pressured because of that. I think that he just really loved the game. I think that he was just deeply passionate about the game of basketball, and it was aspirational. It was a dream. As millions of kids around the world, who love sports and in particular basketball, just the NBA is a dream. And I don't think he was so different in that dream But I think perhaps as it relates to his father, I think that because he actually knew that his father had played in the NBA, I think from that perspective, perhaps he felt like the aspiration was a little closer to a potential
Yeah.
reality because he had his dad as a role model of someone who was actually in the NBA.
Right.
But even that, I mean, that's not enough on its face.
Right.
So
Right. Well, he started playing AAU ball in the fifth grade. AAU is highly competitive. I mean, were you convinced that your son was ready for that level?
well, he actually started playing AAU in third grade.
Oh.
He started playing AAU in third grade,
Mhm.
and his first AAU road trip, road trip, like where they went to the nationals, actually was in fourth grade. I
Oh.
remember we took a van. You know those vans that not like the fancy buses that the teams travel in now, where you have like well financed AAU programs. I mean, we took a van that we drove with this group from New York City down to Lexington, Kentucky. So I think it
Wow.
was maybe a 14-hour drive, and it was the sort of van where the seats didn't recline. So you're like sitting up.
Mm-hmm.
And if that wasn't bad enough, it was a van that had a wraparound where they have an advertisement around the van of the team. So we like looked like a mobile advertisement driving down south. Uh,
Wow.
but yeah, that was the first time he played in the nationals.
But he was probably so excited to get in this van and go where he had to go. I mean, I remember my son playing AAU. He wasn't that young at all. He was a teen,
Hmm.
but they drove from Montreal to Florida. And it was like 22, 23 hours in a van that has square wheels, everybody sitting straight up all the way there. Everybody in the van was like 6'5", 6'6", and up. And they didn't care. They just
They were
wanted to
just
get there.
happy.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing what they will do at that age, and they don't even think about the discomfort. They're just happy to be with their teammates,
Yeah.
their brothers. I mean, that's how it was for Cole.
Right.
He could have been. I mean, it didn't matter what he was in. He was just happy to be with his buddies.
Yeah.
You think of all the motels you stay in on these road trips as well, and for the kids, doesn't matter where they are. They're
Yep.
just happy to be together and to be playing the game that they love to play so much. I mean, at least that's Cole's experience. I mean, like two of his best friends that are actually with him in Orlando now, he met playing AAU basketball. I think
Oh,
they met
great.
in third grade. They may have even met in second grade, like on a
Wow.
like a less competitive than AAU, whatever
Right.
that for. Like, I don't know if it's you go through different phases, but
Yeah.
he met them and they are his brothers to this day.
Oh, that's awesome. So you attended his games and started shooting footage of his games and more. So what inspired you to do this, and what did you see that was so special that you wanted to capture it all on film?
Right. So I am, by my education, I am a lawyer. I stopped practicing many, many years ago, but I practiced entertainment law, and then I started writing books, and then went into creating TV and film. And so I had been creating and producing a series, a docu series on it was on BET, and I just got the experience of profiling different subjects in these series that I had done, and I was at the same time going to all these games with Cole, as well as being, like I was the basketball mom. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
came to our house. It was, I was carpooling and cooking 500 pancakes in the morning. And I had the opportunity, which was a joy for our family, for Cole to meet so many different
Right.
boys
Mm-hmm.
from different backgrounds, different parts of New York City. And I just thought that the bond that they created was really special. And they were also just these boys, they were characters. I mean, they were straight up comedy.
Yeah.
And so I said, let me film them and put a camera on them and see what comes out of it. And I had gotten to know a lot of their families as well, as you do, with AAU basketball.
Of
You
course.
become friends with the parents of the other players. You're sitting at those games together. Oftentimes you're in a gym, 12 hours. Remember when they used to play like 3-4 games in a day?
A day.
Right?
And we were tired.
Right. You were tired. And so, in any event, and it gave me an opportunity as I'm filming the boys, and I said, I need to really start filming the families.
Yeah.
And it was the theme of it, on a macro level, was everybody has a dream. And for these boys, their dream was to play basketball. And it meant something different to each boy. And it also meant something different to each family.
Right.
And so that, to me, was a fascinating exploration as well, to get to know one of the boys' families who, for them, him playing basketball and him showing talent at this age kind of brought the family together during a challenging time when they kind of lost everything in the real estate crash of New York City. So it was like this galvanizing activity that brought the family joy and family time.
Yeah.
Another kid played on the team, and the mom wanted him to play on the team because he lived in a really tough neighborhood that was gang ridden. Yeah. And so for her, him just being able to get away and go out of town every weekend, she felt like it kept him safe.
Of course.
So there are all sorts of stories like that. But again, what was going on in each of these boys' families' lives, it was like the team was the safe haven for them.
Right. So when you were shooting, when you were doing all this filming, did you know then that you wanted to do a documentary and create Little Ballers?
So I didn't, it's interesting. I didn't really know what it was going to be when I was shooting it. I just knew with my documentarian eye that there was footage there that I wanted to get. And so the first iteration of Little Ballers was actually, 20 minutes. And I really just profiled the boys and their families and the coach as well.
Yeah.
And then as I, energy started sort of mounting behind it, and I was getting excited about it, and my creative juices were flowing around it. And I said, I want to do something more with this. And I, built a team of people that had interest in documentary film. So I went to the former NBA player. He's now actually, ironically, an assistant coach for the Nets. I went to Amari Stoudemire, who at the time was playing for the Knicks, and he had a production company, and I showed him the footage, and he was like, yeah, bring me on. And the idea in bringing him on was to be able to expand it and think about, well, I'm telling the stories of these boys who are playing AAU basketball. How about I bring in the stories also of NBA players there's like the A story and the B story. And the B story is the NBA players that share their parallel experiences of when they played AAU ball. Right. And they, serve as a different view of what these boys went through and what they potentially have to look forward to or not. And they just gave it a different perspective. So I brought in other NBA players, like Steve Nash was in. Oh gosh, that's the coach of Brooklyn Nets. All this Brooklyn Nets energy right now.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash is a Canadian, right?
Yes.
But Steve Nash was in it. Russell Westbrook,
Carmelo Anthony,
Walt Clyde Frazier. But then I brought in journalists. I said, oh, well, let me get the perspective of Bill Rhoden, who was the longtime New York Times sports writer, Roland Martin. And I was like, oh, let me get a sports agent. So I really tried to mix up and give a larger view of what youth basketball
Yes.
can do for young men and young women. Because actually, I
Yeah.
had a WNBA player, and I ended up doing a Little Ballers for Women with
Okay.
Skylar Diggins after that. But anyway, it was a wonderful experience that was really, transformative, and really, it was my first feature documentary that I directed
Oh,
as well.
okay.
So,
Yeah, I watched it this morning, and I absolutely loved it.
oh, thank you.
I
Did you see
loved
parallels?
it. Yes, and that's what I loved most about it, because it really showed the path. You know what I mean? Because they're so innocent. You know what I mean? The boys, they don't care, like you were saying before. They just want to get on the court and play. But what I loved about it was they were such a family. You know
Yes.
what I mean? They brought each other in, and they're like, okay, this is what we have to do. We're a team, we're a family. We have to move forward. We got to get this win. We got to, you know what I mean? I just loved it because they were so young, the kids, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And then listening to like Carmelo Anthony, for example, when he was talking about when he was in AAU, and you know what I mean? And here he was an NBA player. So it's just good to see, to compare the two, you know what
Yes.
I mean? Because it showed a watcher, well, what could actually happen and what's the path
Sure.
to become an NBA player, right? Or just to
Yes.
play pro ball at all. So I thought it was fantastic, and I'm so happy that I fell on it this morning. I really, really
Thanks
am.
for
And
watching it. Well, I thought that
absolutely.
when you brought up Carmelo Anthony, that made me think about one of his comments in the film was they were just kids having fun, and they were
Yeah.
out on the court. They had mismatched uniforms,
Yep.
mismatched socks,
Yep.
holes in it. And it just reminded me of the love
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah.
And that, as now as both of us mothers of professional basketball players, I think that's something that they should always hold close, which they
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
you go back to those moments of it's not about the sneakers, it's not about the uniforms, it's not about the
Exactly.
bright lights.
Yep.
It's really about the love of the game.
Yep. Yep. And it was funny because I did laugh when he was talking about the mismatched socks and all that. And I'm laughing because I was like, for the boys, it's just socks. You know what I
Right.
mean? It didn't matter if
Right.
one was purple and the other one was polka dot. They just had socks on and he's on the court. Didn't matter. And it was
Didn't matter.
all about the love of the sport.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I
Yeah.
actually sent it to my niece because she plays basketball too. And I'm like, you have to watch this. So
Oh,
we
great.
didn't.
I'll have to send you the one that I did with Skylar Diggins.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. Please. So let's fast forward to high school. Where did he go? And in your opinion, what were those years like for him?
So his first high school, he went to two high schools. His first high
Okay.
school is here in New York City, a high school called Archbishop Malloy, where a few other NBA players went there. Kenny
Mm-hmm.
Smith, Kenny Anderson, and it was it was a how do I describe this experience? Like going from the transition because it's like the high school basketball for the high school team, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's the high school basketball for the AAU team.
Right.
And they're just two very different experiences.
Yeah.
I guess on one level, I could almost say his high school team that he played for 3 years, it was sort of like the difference between um, college. His high school team was the difference. It was like the difference between college and the NBA was the difference between his high school team and his AAU team.
Okay.
That level of talent. So he didn't like his first 3 years. He didn't go to like a national powerhouse,
Right.
a very solid high school basketball program. So in any event, it was what I will say it was a learning experience for him where I think he really began to develop his game a bit more
Right.
than he had from middle school and just more organized. You
Mm-hmm.
start to see once they're in high school, again, between the actual high school team and the AAU team, um, those traveling teams, the business of it.
Yeah.
You get into the business like, oh, you have to wear, this particular sneaker because they're a sponsor. I mean, just that
Right.
aspect of it. And then,
Yeah.
of course, then it moved on to as he got his senior year, he went to Archbishop Malloy, Oak Hill Academy, his senior year, which is a basketball, sort of a basketball powerhouse school.
Right.
And that was his first time living away from home, because it's in this place called Mouth of Wilson, Virginia.
Right.
And great basketball coach there, Steve Smith. And a lot of NBA players went there, from Rajon Rondo, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, Strickland, whole bunch of really good players.
Right.
And it's just so funny because it's this powerhouse of a basketball school, and you get there and you're like, this is the powerhouse school? Like the gym is so tiny, but it's intimate. I guess it's sort of like, maybe like Duke's gym, whatever, it's Cameron Center, that's, really tiny, but it's legendary.
Yeah.
But in any event, so high school was a whole other, level. I mean, of course, it felt like the stakes just kept getting higher and higher.
Yes.
That was what, and the pressure, I think to perform, kept getting higher and higher because the stage gets bigger.
Right.
And then our sons are playing basketball also in the era of, which is fairly new, relatively speaking. I'm dating myself, but it's fairly new. We're in this era of social media, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, so like overtime, the overtime?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember overtime when Cole was maybe a freshman in high school. I think they were just starting off. And I'm thinking, as a high school player, people are coming to film you with why are they coming to film you? What's this for? And then they're like, oh, but it's on this platform. It's going to be on Twitter. It's going to be on Instagram. So there's just this expansiveness from the marketing perspective, and the reach of basketball. It's, it's still, Cole's still there playing it because he loves it. And everybody presumably that's playing gets some degree of enjoyment out of it. But you start to see these other elements to the marketing of the game,
right,
even on the high school level. And it just feels like it just exploded from there.
Well, of course, because now these players are getting such a broader reach and so quickly with social media. You know what I mean? Before, years prior, it wasn't like that, right? A scout actually had to go to the gym. You know what I mean? Right. Fans actually had to follow. You would phone call everybody, and you know what I mean? It was like a chain of phone calls. Did you hear this player Cole Anthony? You got to go watch him. He's so great.
You got to go see him. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
But now you're like, I already seen him. I saw him on Instagram. I saw him play on the highlights. I saw him play. Right. You know what I mean? So it's so different now. Well, during his high school years, he was one of the best players of his class, the best point guard of his class, and one of the top recruits overall. He was a McDonald's All-American. He played at the Jordan Brand Classic game and the Nike Hoop Summit and was MVP for all three. Was the NBA route obvious at that point?
I can't say for me that it was obvious, because I'm, still looking at him as this is right. What do you say? This is my baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're going to, you're going to college, and I want you to have the full experience of college. But I know for him, that was a dream. He wanted to go and play professionally. That's just what he wanted to be doing full time.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, I think it was for him, it was pretty clear that's what he wanted to do, and didn't mean, that he was going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
And he, as went to UNC, and it was a challenging year.
Yeah.
A really challenging year for him. He had surgery, tore his meniscus, first time he'd ever had surgery. And then almost everybody on the team got injured.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's going on now.
I was just going to say, I'm like, wait, how are they mirroring the magic? What's going on?
Like what's, not funny, but, ironic, but, yeah. So, but it all, it's all part of it. It's
Yeah, it
part of
is.
it. And, the it's not quite the underbelly of it, but it's one of the downsides of it. Risk reward.
Absolutely. I just want to go back 2 seconds to your college process because I'm just
Yes.
interested in knowing what were your top two and why did you choose North Carolina?
The top two colleges,
Yeah.
I would say Oregon, very different,
Yeah.
different coast, different
Yeah.
style of play. But I would say Oregon and UNC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Oregon and UNC, and I both, excellent programs,
Yeah.
top notch, both um, extraordinary coaches. Uh, but Cole ultimately made the final decision. It was his decision.
Of
His
course.
decision of UNC, and I think what I would say is it maybe felt a little bit like home for him. I
Hmm.
think there was something about the Oregon. It was so far away
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be across, not just like across the country from New York City, and it wasn't like it was Portland. You get off and the campus is 20 minutes from the airport, but you get off the plane in Portland or wherever and to go to Eugene, Oregon. I think that's where it's like another 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive. So it
Oh
would
my
have been
goodness.
really hard
Yeah.
for him to get home. Yeah. But that aside, seriously, I mean, Roy Williams is such outside of being a world-class coach, I mean, he's just such a special man who is
Yeah.
really a teacher of the game. And he, as much as he's a basketball junkie, uh, for him, it was really about the kids off the court more so
Right.
than on the court.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And that's what I felt. And that has, I don't know what it is about that man, but he kind of tugs at the heart of his players, and he, tugs at my heart.
Well, there's so much to say about Cole's career at North Carolina. He is so passionate and competitive. And the Tar Heels were known to be a winning squad and make the Final Four. And he suffered was a tear his meniscus disc, right? I believe.
Yeah, he
You're
had,
right.
yeah, or yeah. And he still, yeah, that happened, and I think it was actually, I want to say 5 or 6 games into the season,
Yeah.
but he still played a couple more with it torn, not knowing it was torn.
Ooh.
Yeah. We just thought
Well,
it was just swollen or
oh,
something.
yeah. Well, of course, he's a kid, right? There's nothing ever wrong
Right.
until
That's
you're
right.
actually on the ground and you can't move it anymore.
That's right.
That's the only time they're going to admit to it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember asking my son, like, well, why is your foot facing the other direction? Like, what's going on? Is it's okay, I'm fine. I'm like, I know, but it doesn't look good. Like, come sit over here. So, yeah, I completely understand. But when he returned, was there a lot of pressure for him to bring the team back to a
Hmm.
winning team?
No, it's interesting. There was actually more pressure for him to not go back from various people and
Right.
entities, and just don't go back. So there wasn't so much pressure for him to go back. The pressure for him to go back was he wasn't finished playing college basketball, and he
Yeah.
still wanted to go and help his teammates as best he could.
Yeah.
That was, what really motivated him. He wanted to play more for, Roy Williams
For
and
sure.
for the Tar Heels. And he really, again, he really bonded with his teammates. So he
Yeah.
wanted to go back and play and help them as much as he could.
Well, of course, those are his brothers, right?
That's right.
So there's no such thing as abandoning your brothers. At the end of the
That is
day,
absolutely right.
yeah, you start the season together, you're going to finish the season together, right? I
Right.
mean,
That's
that's,
absolutely
and
right. The
to
good, the
me,
bad, the ugly.
amen. You know what I mean? And looking at little ballers, that to me is in my mind were cultivated for him. You know what I mean? Because I'm watching it and all the kids are bonding together. And like you said, like there's that brotherhood. So he brought that all the way with him. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
injured or not, he's like, listen, I'm coming back and we are going to finish this. Not Cole's going to finish it. We are going to finish it. So kudos to him. Well, his season at North Carolina wasn't as great as expected, but he still chose to declare for the draft. So let's talk about that a bit and the people who played a role in that decision.
That again, that was the decision to declare was his. That was his decision. It was what he wanted to do. Again, that basketball bug for these players who just love the game. There was no, talking him into it or out of it. This was Cole, very singularly focused on wanting to play basketball professionally and not having any distractions from doing it. And, he wanted to just be able to focus 100% on it. So that's what he wanted to do. I didn't have, he obviously had conversations, but it was his decision.
Yeah.
Like it was his decision what, college he ultimately went to. It was his decision. I mean, he of course, talks to us. He talks to me and my husband, Ray, and his father, Greg. We are, like his sort of his brain trust. But at the end of the day, he really wanted to declare.
Right. Well, due to COVID, draft preparations was completely different then, and before with the virtual combine, and it's just so totally different than before. So how did Cole have to prepare for this next step?
Well, he was still, just staying fit, just physically fit, riding the bike, and you couldn't, get at the beginning part of the pandemic. I think the whole world, and particularly, our household, we were just like everyone else saying, what is this alternative universe that we find ourselves in where everything is shut down? The gyms are shut down, just the whole world. So there was that period of, this, I think that I wouldn't say he was in shock, but I think we were just trying to figure it out. There was so much uncertainty. Yeah. What is actually going to happen with this new world order? Yeah. And so when he was finally able to, get back in a gym and actually work out, and I think at that point, maybe the draft had been postponed. It was originally supposed to be in June.
That's right.
And it was, at that point, it was postponed to October. And so it was such a long time from the original date.
Yeah.
And one by one, everything, live or in person, was canceled, leading up to what historically has happened, leading to the draft, Summer League and the in-person interviews, the in-person combines. And so part of staying fit and actually, working out, he had to pace himself as it related to, you don't want to wear yourself out. You want to keep the momentum. You want to know when to take a rest. And so there was all this going on. I mean, just the mental gymnastics that you go through when you have such, unprecedented. Yeah. In modern times, it was an unprecedented, and remains to be an unprecedented. I mean, since the 1918 pandemic. But in modern times, we have not had anything like this that has so fundamentally altered our lives. And so as it relates to Cole and, his dream to play in the NBA and the preparation, everything was just new and unpredictable. Yeah. So but he, got to a point where he was able to, with various protocols, he was able to finally get back in the gym. And then, so he worked out with just, different trainers off and on over the course of the summer. And then come October, I think it was, or the end of September, he was actually able to go down and he actually worked out in Miami doing, the pre-draft training down there, which got him ready for the draft, the November 18th draft, which I remember the date, November 18th. Not that it's so difficult, but that also the draft also was on the same day as our 8-year-old's birthday. He turned 8 on the day of the draft. As if that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Draft. And at that age, at 8 years old, 7 years old, the birthday is everything. I mean, that's it. And Cole's draft night. And I'd finally I brought my mother who's in Michigan. I brought her to New York and I got her safely here and she's 95 years old. So there's a lot going on.
Wow. Okay. So you know what? Now let's talk about the moment of excitement. So let's talk about draft night. Like, who was with you? What was your expectations for Cole? Like, give me the rundown from start to finish.
So it was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, it was exciting, but I would say it was nerve-wracking more than anything, just because there's just so much uncertainty of where he was going to go. And by the way, the Magic were his number one choice.
Oh, okay.
The Magic was his number one choice. Of the teams that we knew that were interested in him, the Magic were his number one choice.
Right.
And so, but we didn't know. I didn't know that it was going to be the Magic selecting him. And he didn't know either until maybe less than 10 minutes before they picked him.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Less than 10. I mean, if it might have been 5 minutes.
Okay.
Before. But but of course we were excited. And I just said that morning, the morning of the draft, no matter what the outcome is, let's let this be a really special day.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it. Let's have some good food. Let's allow it to be celebratory and a blessing, and it will be what it is going to be. So that's what I was saying on one hand, but then on the other hand, there every hour and a half phone calls with his agent, Jeff Schwartz, where I'm like, you are stressing me out. You are really stressing me out. But yeah, so my mom was there, my husband, Greg, and his wife came, and their 2 kids. And then, Ella is my 18-year-old. Leo is turned 8 years old on November 18th. And and some close friends were there as well. Tanya Lewis Lee, who I wrote a book with, and her husband, Spike Lee, he was there. This good family friends from years ago. And then Cole's 2 best friends that he played AAU basketball with, Bryce and Judah, who were in Little Ballers.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
who are with him, in Orlando. They were there too. So it was quite a day. And then, when they called his name, well, we actually got a call, that they were, but still not real until your name is called.
Right.
And so then Adam Silver, with the 15th pick, the Orlando Magic. And it was just surreal and joyous.
Yeah. I saw the video. We were so happy because I watched the draft too, because I'm like, okay, who's going to be next for the Magic? You know what I mean? And when I was like, Cole Anthony, hold on, we just check the highlights. You know what I mean? I went to look and see who was Cole Anthony, and you know what I mean. And I was so excited. And you know what I mean, within the Magic community, the people that I speak to, you know, we're texting each other, and it was really, really, really a lot of fun. You know what I mean, for us as well, because you're always
Right.
welcoming that new player, right? It's
Right.
so exciting, and I loved your family's reaction. I just think it's just amazing because it's different when you're home or doing a private gathering versus when you are at, you know what I mean, at the draft.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know. I haven't experienced either. But
Mhm.
for me, if I would have had a choice, I would have preferred the private gathering because that's more intimate with your family. We can
Sure.
run around the living room all you want. You know what I mean? It's just
Right. Right. No,
it's just
it ended up being, no, it was great. I mean, after he was selected, it was particularly great because it was like,
yeah.
because
Finally,
I
eh?
spent it was just again, the uncertainty and the agonizing part of, because when it's your children, you want for your children more than you want for yourself.
Of
You want
course.
everything for them, and you want their dreams to come true,
Of course.
So for because I just was thinking to myself, I know Cole, he's a very smart young man. He's brilliant. He's proactive. He would be successful no matter what he does in
Yeah.
life, because he's really innovative as well and just a quick learn. But at this stage in his life, he didn't have a plan B. Go back to school, but he didn't, he was banking on, in his heart of hearts, to be able to go play in the NBA.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, how did the Magic embrace Cole and welcome him to the squad? And what was it like for him to finally meet the other players?
Well, Mohamed Bamba, who he
Yeah.
played AAU basketball with in high school, was so excited because, again, Mo's another one of those. Like, Mo was actually with us the night he got drafted. I mean, I think he stayed at our
Mm.
house that whole week that he got drafted. And he's like another, son. I probably had like 30 sons with all this basketball players I've adopted over through the years through Cole. Um, so that was like the first thing. They were so excited to be able to, be reunited. So that was a
Right.
thrill. And all the other players, I mean, that he's, he said everyone has been incredibly welcoming and, taken him under their wings, especially just, being the rookie
For
and
sure.
the rookie mistakes, that you're going to make. I mean, the veteran mistakes, but in particular, the rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
um, and he just said he's like, those are my guys. He's like, they
Yeah.
are my guys. They're
Yeah.
so,
His
and I
new
like, it's
brothers.
great. He and your son, they have like, a nice little pick and roll thing going,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. He's like, these are my new brothers, right?
Yes, yes, that's exactly right.
Well, after being drafted to a particular team, a player has to get ready to be implemented to the team. Some watch film, some call players or staff, etc. Do you know if Cole reached out to the Magic prior to his arrival to get to understand the Orlando Magic organization and what he was about to face?
Yeah, well, actually, before they even drafted him, they had come to see him play
Mm.
when he was working out in
Mm-hmm.
Florida, in
Oh,
Miami,
okay.
where he was down there for like a month.
Yeah.
And he actually they came to see him play, and he had dinner with the president, the GM,
Yeah.
and the assistant GM, where they had, like, I think, like a 3-hour dinner. So they really got a chance to talk and get to know. And
Yeah.
it was just the four of them. I mean, he didn't have
Yeah.
a parent there. It was him. And I think that they really bonded and connected then.
Right.
And then, of course, the night of the draft, he spoke with the president of the team,
Yeah.
as well. And then they wanted him to come down there, I think maybe 2 days after the draft. And that's when my one time I went down there with him.
Yeah.
I went down there with him and my 8-year-old, which was thrilling. And that's when like he signed his contract and got to see the facilities and so on and so forth. But again, everything is tempered by COVID a bit.
Yeah.
All the protocols around that, because before he even went in the arena, he had to get his COVID test and
Right.
I guess continues now, but I guess they get 2 tests a day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't even, I mean, I get tested pretty frequently, but not every day, twice a day.
I know. I'm thinking, oh my good Lord. But
I know, right. Good Lord.
Okay. I mean, I guess right now with what's going on and some players actually catching it, I guess it's kind of a good thing now. I mean,
wait, what? Getting the test?
I
know.
Yeah.
But thankfully the vaccine's here. My mom got her first dose of it. I'm excited about that.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the statistics to becoming an NBA player is slim when you look at the numbers. I mean, I believe it's like 1.3% of NCAA players are drafted to the NBA.
Was it? Yeah. What is it? I don't have that.
It's around 1.3% or something. Yeah. It's because what is it?
I would have thought it was less than 1%. Because what is it? I had a graphic in Little Ballers. Do you remember that? I can't remember. Yeah. It was something like, it's changed obviously since then, but when I made it, it was something like 10, 11 million. And this was just in the US, 10, 11 million kids play high school basketball. Approximately 2,000 play Division I basketball.
Right. And 60 get drafted.
60 are drafted.
Yes.
30 make the team. Something like that. But now it's the game so global. I mean, you look from around the world. It's a global game, and there are players from
anywhere,
dozens of countries, across the globe,
any and everywhere now.
That's right.
Well, Cole is very talented, but so are other thousands that play in the NCAA.
Absolutely.
What is it like for you as a mom when you think about the fact that your son is a part of that small percentage that made it to the NBA?
Well, first of all, it's still surreal.
Yeah.
Number one, it's still, I mean, it's starting to settle in a little, as I've been, watching him on TV play. And I'm like, oh, he's actually in the NBA. There's that part of it. And it's a blessing. It is a tremendous, tremendous blessing. I don't know how else to put it, but it is. So there's that part of it. And then to think about it as well, it's like, it's so funny. There's this renewed respect. I mean, I'm a fan of basketball. I never, I was never really good at it. That wasn't, my sport as an athlete. If Cole's listened to this, he'd be like, you weren't an athlete in anything. I ran 2 New York City marathons.
Yeah.
But but my renewed respect for the talent level of the NBA, now watching him play against these guys who I've watched play, he's watched play as a kid, he's idolized, and see him get schooled.
Yeah. Different level.
And it's so funny because his first, game that he started, sadly after Markel, just breaks my heart. Mm. What happened to him? Cole had to, try to step up and happen. They, coach started him, but I was like, wow, the first start is against James Harden.
I know.
John Wall. Like, really?
Yeah, I know.
Really? Like, it has to be against them? Are you kidding me? I mean, I was, and it was funny, like, as a mom watching him, like, I knew he was nervous and intimidated playing against them. And then, and he's so competitive. They're all so competitive. But there was one point in the game where John Wall had fallen or something. And it was not because Cole fouled him or anything. And John Wall's teammate was there helping him up. And I saw Cole kind of run over and was like helping him up too.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, oh, you're like such a fan. That's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, which is great. It was excellent sportsmanship, as there should be. But it just, it was extra. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you really need the kind of extra with this.
That's funny. That is rookie move.
Right. No, but it was and so, and then I'm just thinking, and then tonight he has to play Harden twice.
I know. I was like, really? I know. I was like,
Harden's making his debut, and here in New York on the cover of the news today was a big picture of Harden with the caption, "Fear the Beard." And James Harden had been my 8-year-old's favorite player in the NBA. He just loved James Harden. Like whenever the Rockets would lose, he would just cry and cry and cry and cry. And he saw that and he was like, oh boy. He's like, he's against Harden tonight and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant.
That's too funny.
So,
he's like, I just played the Beard a couple days ago. Like,
right,
the trade couldn't happen.
I gotta play you on another team.
I know, like the trade couldn't happen next week. He was like, so I know I was watching that game and I had to laugh because I remember our rookie Karim Mane was guarding James Harden, and I'm like, really? Like, I was like,
that's
wow.
right. How did I get? Yes.
And I was like, poor Kareem. I mean, just to say, you know what I mean? He came from Montreal and you know what I mean? He's like, 20, just starting. He came from college in Montreal, Quebec, right to the Orlando Magic, and he's guarding James Harden.
Right.
And I was sitting there watching this game, and I'm like, okay, I got to see what's going to happen here. You know what I mean?
And that's, and my point around that is it's a reminder of just how high the talent level is.
Absolutely. And I loved it because that just pushed Kareem to do what he was, you know what I mean? Like, you're on this team now, you're no different than anybody else. And this isn't the first time you're going to be, you know what I mean, playing versus a veteran player. So do what you got to do because this is why we have you here. This is why we recognize your talent. And he held his own, but it was just funny because we're like, wait, what? like, hold on a minute. So, I was watching last night's game and Cole, he got hurt. Is he okay?
No, I think he was fine. He was fine when he hit his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was. I could tell he was fine after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it together.
When I watched,
went in the hip of the other player. I can't remember his name. It was the same guy that Cole got called for with that shot.
With that, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know the camera's focusing on Cole laying on the ground, and I see these bright blue shoes come and yank him up, and then Cole just drops back on the ground, and I'm like, "Is that my son?" And I'm like, let him go. It was just funny because, you know, all I see is Cole's body lift and then drop. And I guess he was like, you're not ready? Oh, okay. And then the shoes walk away. And I just had to laugh because I'm like, oh, poor Cole. But I mean, we knew later he was better. But I mean, as a mom, you don't ever want to see your child hurt.
Yeah, I know for a minute, I was like, what happened? Because they were like, Cole is down. And I was like, what happened? And when they put the camera back on, I was like, is he hurt? And then I saw him, but it did not seem like he was really hurt.
Right.
Like seriously hurt. I think, you know, he was just kind of jarred a bit.
Yeah. I just want to ask, basketball has been a big part of your life for quite some time now. Is there a difference in the role of being an NBA wife versus an NBA mom?
Well, as an NBA mom, I'm just so much more vested in it.
Yeah.
Just so much more
different
in it.
Yeah.
I mean, as a high school mom, as a middle school basketball mom, or you know, I'm just more vested in it because
more involved, eh?
Yeah, and just the intensity level.
For sure.
As a parent, you know, it's just the fact that the spectator sport that it is amped up, you know, infinitely when it is your child that you're, you know, spectating. It's just a different. It has you have a physical reaction when your child is out there, you know, on the court performing. I mean, and when there's so much, you know, it just feels like
Yeah.
there's so much at stake,
Yeah.
people
Absolutely.
watching and, the performative paranoia you have. There's just a lot of other elements that go into play.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to watch him play live at the Amway Center yet?
Sadly, I have not had a chance to. I've been trying to figure out how I can pull it off, because in New York State, if you travel to a non-contiguous state from New York, and come back to New York, you have to be quarantined for 14 days. Now you can test out, but I would have to, I'm trying to figure out how I can do it, because I would have had to bring my 8-year-old Leo, who's Leo and Cole are best friends. If I were to go to Florida to see Cole play live and not take Leo, I just don't know if he would ever forgive me. So I'm trying to because he would have to stay out of school for 14 days.
Right.
And he wouldn't want to be so I'm trying to figure that out. It's just a whole lot. It's just a lot of decisions around that.
I feel you.
The short answer to your question is no. Sadly, I've not had a chance to see Cole play in person yet. I'm really very sad about that.
Oh, I feel you. I mean, I've seen Cam play. I've been to the Amway Center many times, but this season, for the same reasons, I can't go either. You know what I mean? It's getting out the country is an issue, right? I mean, I can get out the country, but it's just getting back and then doing the 14-day quarantine. And it doesn't interest me to sit inside the house for 14 days. It really doesn't.
No, it's just, it's a lot it's a lot to do it.
It is. It's like being in prison. I mean, no,
I know.
I mean, no. So hopefully this will be all said and done soon, so you and I can sit together and cheer our boys on.
I can't. Listen. I am so looking forward to that day.
Oh yeah, very, very soon. Very soon.
Soon and very soon.
Yes. I want to ask you some fun facts now about Cole.
Okay.
Yeah. What is your go-to dish that you make that he just absolutely loves?
That I make that he loves?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we take pizza out of the equation, which is his favorite food, some very gourmet dishes like scrambled eggs and cheese, scrambled hard. He loves that. Toasted peanut butter sandwiches. Yeah, he likes the protein on the toasted peanut. He loves peanut butter. But he doesn't. But Cole, he doesn't eat that much. He has a very finicky diet. He doesn't eat red meat.
Okay.
And so there's no hamburgers, no steaks, no. And chicken, he's so particular. Like the way he likes chicken, I don't really know how to prepare it the way he likes it.
Okay. Was he always picky as a child?
Yes.
Oh my God, my son ate everything.
He's always pretty much been picky. Penne pasta with butter and salt. Exotic. We're getting exotic now.
I tell you, I'm like, wow. Okay, he's different.
And I'm trying to think what else that I make that he likes. But I cook. I cook, lots of dishes, but I wish he ate salmon. I mean, I have a clean salmon dish, but he doesn't like fish either.
Well, I'm gonna hold you to that because I eat salmon so often that people are telling me, okay, enough with the mercury, put it down. I was like, because I love salmon.
Just as long as you're not glowing when
you walk,
it should be okay.
As long as I'm not shiny. Yeah.
I mean like the glow from something.
Yep.
Good glow, the beauty glow. We'll take that. But
not the mercury glow. I feel
not the mercury glow. Pass on that one.
What was one item as a child that he could not live without?
Oh gosh, one item, like a physical item that he
something that he just
couldn't live without.
Always had that you noticed that he just always, if he had a favorite item,
Well,
you know what I mean?
I can't say that it was just one item, but there were like things that he
Sure.
was really into. I mean, he
Yeah.
was really, really into Pokemon.
Awesome.
Loves Pokemon.
Yeah, my son too.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he had some, little Pokemon impersonations that he would do that were pretty funny. Um, and that was one of his favorite things. I mean, he did go prior to that when he was younger. I mean, he did go through the Thomas the Tank Engine stage when he was like
Yeah.
2 and 3 years old. Thomas.
Yep. Thomas the Tank.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so I would collect a lot of those trains for him, and he was really attached to those. So there were
Right.
some moments he'd go to bed holding them in his hands.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Little
fantastic.
Thomas train.
I remember my son, he absolutely loved Pokemon. And I used to laugh. I think there was like 109 of them. And he used to name them all. And I used to get so angry. And I used to tell your schoolwork like that. You better know your math.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, Cole's the same way. And so now my 8-year-old's into Pokemon, but now they're over, I want to say, I don't want to like offend the Pokemon fanatics, but I do know that there are now over 600 Pokemon.
Gosh. Wow.
And Cole can name all of them.
Oh my God.
He can name he knows them so well. When Leo was like, "What Pokemon is this, Cole?" We'll like call him and show him, and Cole's just like, "That's Rayquaza, Wartortle."
That's funny. Did you have a childhood nickname for him? And if so, what was it?
Pumpkin or Bug.
Do you still call him that in public?
I don't really call him Pumpkin anymore. It was like, stop that. I mean, he's, and then he had a couple cousins or a cousin that called him Cole, which he couldn't stand.
He liked Pumpkin, but not Cole.
Pumpkin. He was too young to protest it.
Yeah.
He was just like,
in his head, he's like, stop it. So tell me, Mom, what 3 tips would you give a mom who has to deal with a coaching decision that they do not agree with?
It has to deal with the coaching decision as it relates to their child?
Yep. Just say you and a mom are sitting there watching a game and a coach made a decision and that mom next to you did not agree with it. Like, what would you get? Like, what advice would you give her?
Based on that scenario, if she's just venting to me about something, I think I would probably just listen because it can be so emotional.
Yeah.
When, a mom or a dad feels a certain way. If she asked my advice, if she pointedly was like, "Oh, I was just going off on the coach," or what do you think about that? It depends on how close I am with her. I feel like I'm obviously not a veteran mom. I mean, my kid's a rookie, but I feel like I've just been through so many different iterations of coaches, just even getting to the point where he's in the NBA. I feel like the one thing that I've learned is I just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
On something like that, because the coach is the coach. The coach is the coach. That's the coach's job. You got to respect the coach, and you start second guessing everything, and to me it just would lead to a negative place, even getting into that headspace.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even want to be in that headspace for Cole, because that's introducing, in my view, that would be introducing negativity.
Yeah.
And something that I wouldn't want him focusing on.
Yeah.
I mean, something that I've always tried to teach Cole just in life, and particularly as it relates to as applied to basketball, is, just you have to look yourself in the mirror, self-responsibility, accountability.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you need to be taking care of what you need to be taken care of. And a part of that is listening to what your coach tells you to do. Doesn't really matter what I think about it.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to a player about how to deal with a difficult teammate?
How to deal with a difficult teammate?
Teammate, yeah.
I mean, again, this is my philosophy, my husband's philosophy, how we try to live our lives. We try to just always rise above the fray, just as a matter of principle, and to be, be the bigger person
Yeah.
in any given situation. But perhaps even more importantly than that is something that my husband actually taught me, and I think I knew it, but I didn't put it in these terms, is you have to always allow another person their dignity.
Yes.
And so looking at it from that perspective, to me, that also entails having a level also of empathy. And to be empathetic as a human being is a real gift.
For sure.
It's a gift to humanity. I think if we were all empathetic, the world would just be a better place. And I don't mean to sound all kumbaya-ish
No, but it's
here,
true.
but so from that perspective, I also again have tried to live my life uh, from the perspective of, if I'm having a problem with somebody, if I'm having an issue with somebody in work or somebody in whatever situation there may be, I try to figure out, what am I doing to contribute to this?
Right. Right.
Because rarely is it all only one person's fault.
Yeah. It's true.
Rarely is it's so, there's, what is it? There's the not to get Freudian, but to go into psychology for a moment, but the id, the ego, and the superego.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how society looks at you, how you look at yourself, and how you really are.
Yeah.
Which is similar to the three sides to every story: his side,
Yep.
her side, and the
And
truth.
the truth. Absolutely.
And so I think as a teammate, taking it back and applying it to as being a teammate, be empathetic to how your teammate might be feeling in that situation. Ask yourself how you might have contributed to not getting along, and be solution oriented.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So true.
Particularly, with these young men with egos.
Yeah.
And bravado. But if you could just take it down, bring it down, try to understand where your teammate's coming from himself, say, what did I do? But
for sure.
One thing I like that you see on the court, which I think is actually miles ahead of the general population, and one of the benefits of teamwork and working with the team. You know how you see on the court,
Yep.
when one of them messes up and they're like, my bad.
Yeah.
Like immediately accepting responsibility. That's
course.
such a healthy way
It is
to live. And you think about, in most work environments, you don't have sort of that immediate, like, my bad, my fault, if something that gets, messed up, but immediate, like, my bad, I threw that bad pass.
That's right.
My bad, I wasn't.
Own it and move on. Own it and just move on, right? And that's what you
right.
have to do, is
Own it
what I mean?
and move on. That's
absolutely.
Exactly right.
My last question to you is, if you could give one piece of advice to another courtside mom, what would it be?
Oh, wow. As a mother of an athlete, of a basketball player, of a high level player, or even not so high level player, however that's being defined, but as the mother of a basketball player, I would tell a mom, again, easier said than done, but always try to remember to find the joy in the game, and keep it in perspective, as intense as we can be. And this is sort of my ultimate fallback.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all rejoice when our kid has a great game. That's so exciting. It's wonderful. It's like this, you're just thrilled for your kid. Face it, in the NBA, oftentimes you're going to have more bad games than good games. And I said this to Leo, my 8-year-old, the other night, because he was crying after one of the losses. And I was like, look at it like this, Leo. On any given night in the NBA, 50% of the teams, half the teams are losers on any given night.
That's true.
So keep it in perspective and pull back. And as much as we all want to win and we want our kids' team to win and we want them to perform well, understand it may be a high stake game and a high price game and a multi-billion-dollar industry at this level. It is still a blessing that they're able to do what they love to do at this level.
That is great advice for any mom, for any player on any level. Like you were saying before, am I asking you the question for a high level player or a player that's just beginning? At the end of the day, every player, no matter what level they play, they feel that they're a high level player. You know what I mean? They're on a team, you know what I mean? AAU.
That's right. No, you're right. You're
I mean?
absolutely right. So my second grader, he feels like his team, he feels like it's the highest, and it is. You're right.
Yeah, for his level and his age, absolutely. He's where he needs to be at, right? You know what I mean?
That's right.
They see that dream, but on, you know what I mean, on the court at that moment, you know what I mean? Like, yo, we're high level players. You know what I mean? We play on a team. We got uniforms.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Crystal, you are fantastic. I really, really, really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm so excited. Congratulations on becoming a magic mom.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, love it, love it.
I can't wait till we're all together.
I know. And I'm praying that it's very, very soon.
I know.
It's well overdue. And as soon as I make my way to the Amway Center, I'm going to call you and say, listen, let's get down there.
Please let me know.
And we want to wish your husband all the success and luck in his race.
Thank you.
Yes.
It is a grind.
Listen, everything we do in life that's worth it is a grind, right? If it's not a grind, then it's just not worth doing. Don't waste your time. So,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and for Cole, you know what I mean? Let him ball out. I'm excited to see what our boys are going to do in a couple of hours. You know what I mean? Like I said to my son, whether we lose the game or win the game, it's how you play that matters.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So to me, you know what I mean? I tell him all the time, like, you're a winner. Last time my son got a double-double. It's cool. You know what I mean? So I'm like, good for you. Do you, play you, and the same thing for Cole. You know what I mean? Play you and you know what I mean? And just let's move magic forward.
That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on Courtside Moms, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Courtside Moms, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
Anything you want done, baby. I'm every woman. It's all in me. Anything you want done, baby. I do it naturally.